Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We do not have the camera here in this video because I am a big fat dummy, but we do have a picture of Ken Griffin crying to make up the difference. Now, here in this video, we are going to get into, the Ortex data with AMC, but more importantly, we're going to talk about Cinemark earnings and AMC expectations for earnings and what that could do to AMC stock. If you guys are unaware, AMC reports earnings this upcoming Tuesday, so I think this is of precedence to bring you guys this information. We'll probably make one more video about this over the weekend, maybe on Sunday, maybe even on Monday, to get you guys fully ready for AMC earnings, because I think it's going to be a massive event for AMC stock. So we're gonna get into it here in this video, guys. Let's just dive straight into it. You know the deal. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. If you guys also want to come trade with me live in real time, link down below in the description of this video. First and foremost, this article is from Barron's. It says Cinemark stock dives on weak earnings, but there's optimism for its post-COVID recovery. Now, they say dives on weak earnings. The initial reaction was negative, but you got good guidance, you got good commentary from the company, and that is causing Cinemark to go up 2% here on the day. Now, it does say revenue for the last 3 months of 2022 was down 10% from a year earlier. Movie theaters were hit hard during the COVID-19 pandemic and have been trying to make up ground since. Cinemark rival Cineworld filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy last September. Quote, "We remain highly optimistic about many opportunities that lie ahead for our company as our industry continues to recover," said CEO Sean Gamble. Now, this is very interesting because their revenue was down 10% for Q4 of 2022 compared to Q4 of 2021, and I think the biggest reason for this is going to be that AMC is actually taking market share from their competitors, and that's something I think people will be very excited about coming on AMC earnings, because AMC is the top movie theater chain in the world. And AMC has been opening more lucrative locations, whereas these other companies, these other movie theater rivals, have not been. So I think that's important context to talk about, even in regards to those bad earnings and that positive commentary. The stock went up today when it probably should have dropped. And in 2022, that stock would have dropped 20%. 2023, it's up 2%, whereas with AMC's case, I think that could set AMC up for a very large rally, because AMC tends to beat on earnings. They tend to say very positive things, and in 2022 that was not rewarded. In 2023 that will be rewarded. Now, let's get into this article. It says AMC Entertainment expected to beat earnings estimates, what to know ahead of the Q4 release. Now, it says this movie theater operator is expected to post quarterly loss of 20 cents per share in its upcoming report, which represents a year-over-year change of negative 81.8%. And it goes on to say that the EPS estimate for the quarter has been revised 3.92% higher over the last 30 days to the current level. This is essentially a reflection of how the covering analysts have collectively reassessed their initial estimates over this period. Investors should keep in mind that an aggregate change may not always reflect the direct of estimate revisions by each of the covering analysts. Now, long story short, this article goes on to say AMC is expected to beat earnings, that they beat earnings more times than not. Over the last 12 months, they have beat earnings about 80% of the time, and about 60% of the time on an EPS basis. So, and it does say this quarter's revenue is expected to be $587.31 million, down 11.9% from the year ago quarter. So along the same lines as Cinemark, but I do think AMC is in a much better position to beat those earnings and to really outperform on the stock once that report does come out, and that will be on Tuesday. So Analysts pretty optimistic heading into AMC earnings, even though there is some pretty low expectations as of right now for those said AMC earnings. Now that you guys have the context out of the way of kind of what the markets are expecting out of AMC earnings, keep in mind what I said earlier in this video, that it's not even the numbers that people care about, it's the commentary and the guidance that will drive AMC stock forward. And more specifically, I've talked about this over the last couple of weeks and couple of months. If AMC can show a path to profitability or a path to a positive EBITDA or a positive EPS, any of those things would be very welcoming to investors of AMC, and I think that ultimately is what will drive AMC higher by 10 to 20% coming on earnings at the very minimum. In my personal opinion, you could get a even larger rally than that. That's kind of what AMC is setting up for. Now, let's get into some of the information that you need to know in regards to AMC earnings and this 10 to 20% rally that will occur next week, in my personal opinion. Keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor. This is simply public information and connecting dots together to come to these conclusions, but it is not a guarantee, so come to your own conclusions. Don't invest or trade anything that you are unwilling to lose. AMC is on the threshold securities list, something we have talked about extensively here on this channel. But the week of earnings, which is going to be next week on Monday, you have 2.1 million FTDs. On Tuesday, the day of earnings, it's going to be the lowest amount of FTDs, which is still almost 2.1 million. The day after earnings on Wednesday, 3.2 million FTDs. On Thursday, 3 million FTDs. And on Friday, another almost 3 million FTDs that will need to be closed out. So in regards to failure to deliver, there's a massive amount of them, and that can obviously help to fuel a rally. At the same time, the short interest is at the highest levels that it has been at since the June 2021 rally in AMC stock, and these are actually from the official reports that have us at 23% short interest. And since that official report did come out, the settlement date was January 31st, release date was February 9th, you have seen the estimates go up by 0.5% for the overall short interest. So we'll see. It could come out at 24% short interest or 24.5% short interest at the next official report. Now, cost to borrow rates are 380% for the cost to borrow max. Cost to borrow average of 342%, but Interactive Brokers has us at 320% cost to borrow rates. That is insanely high, and that puts a lot of pressure on people that take out positions of AMC, not even necessarily to short the stock. Typically, that is the rate that they would pay if they were taking out a short position on AMC. That puts a lot of pressure on them if AMC does make a move to the upside, because not only are you losing money at that point on your actual short position, you're paying out massive cost to borrow fees on a monthly or quarterly basis that pretty much makes that trade non-profitable at that point. That would be a losing trade. You would want to get out of that trade, and I think that is partly what you will see coming on AMC earnings. So I think that is very important context to talk about in regards to AMC earnings. But on top of all of that, I think the thing that I am most bullish about is where AMC is at on a technical basis. Look at all these green dots right here. They're not even lines, green dots. You're seeing a bunch of bullish indicators that are starting to flash, and you are now above your long-term downtrend level. And today is Friday, tomorrow is Monday, and then you have earnings on Tuesday. So really, all you have is Monday. If AMC can stay above this line, then I think that is massively bullish heading into earnings. Now, for perspective here, the only way AMC does not stay above this line is by Monday, AMC would have to drop about 14%, and I simply don't see that happening as of right now. So you are above your long-term resistance level, where essentially AMC has got rejected at every single rally so far. Heading into earnings that I think are going to be very positive, sets us up for a big move. Now, bear with me for a second, because you got to think about how we've actually reacted around this line in the past. In the past, you have got rejected at this level during the peaks of the rallies. This was essentially the point to sell out or, buy some puts, right? If you're trading AMC. Right now, you're not at that level. Right now, you're not in a active uptrend in terms of, the stock going up 20% for a couple of days. You're not in that overall state with AMC. You're in a slow and steady grind to the upside, breaking above these key levels. And the day we did break above this key level, keep in mind you did rally 16.5% and 2.62%. February 22nd, yesterday down about 0.5%. Today you're down about 1%. So you're seeing very healthy price action at this level, and it's not showing you that the stock is getting exhausted. It's not dropping, 5 to 10% today, and I doubt it's going to do that on Monday. That leads me to believe you're going to get, again, that big upside move upon AMC earnings. And like I said, the only way I think you're not going to get an overall positive sentiment is one, if AMC gives bad earnings. And I don't think that is going to be the case. They typically haven't gave us bad earnings or bad guidance in any point in 2022. And I don't think 2023 is going to be a first for that, even considering fundamentally 35% more movies going to theaters should be a good thing for AMC. Now, if for some reason you do get like a 20% down move on Monday, that would not be good setting up into earnings on Tuesday. And that would be really the only thing that would make me reevaluate this whole entire video, is if somehow we just crumbled throughout the last half an hour of the trading day today, as well as on Monday. But again, you got to get down to like $5.45 per share before that would even be a conversation. And I don't think that is going to happen. RSI at 58 and the MACD now slightly in bullish territory does lead me to believe there is some room for that upside rally. Look at the MACD relative to the rallies that we have seen in 2022. I mean, look how bullish these were back here in late March and early April. Very bullish. Back here in August of 2022, very bullish. And look where we are now. You're slightly in bullish territory, not even close to what we've seen in the past. So if you get something to the same extent of the MACD in 2023 compared to 2022, you're going to send the stock up. Simple trend line here. Something like that. And you could easily start to approach $20, $25 per share yet again. Because in all reality, if you break above and get a 10, 20% rally on earnings, you really don't have many resistance levels. I would say $9 a slight one, $10 a psychological resistance level, 15 might be a psychological resistance level, but really I would then start to focus in between $20 and $25 per share, where we consolidated before, or I should say after, the June rally. And in all regards, AMC's short interest is the same as it was back in June. The option activity looks to be the same now as it was in June, at least for that March 17th option expiration that we have been talking about very closely now. And you have not been this technically bullish in a very long time, this coming down to this downtrending line of resistance, guys. So that is going to be all for this video. If you can't tell, I am jacked to the tits for AMC earnings. Let me know how you feel about AMC earnings down below in the comment section. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And like I said, if you guys want to come trade with me live in real time as well, link down below in the description of this video. We will be going over AMC earnings and making trades upon that. Hopefully make some options free, ride those into AMC earnings. You guys know how we like to do it over there. But most importantly, above all of that, enjoy your weekends, and I will see you in the next one.